What a fight. Leigh Wood retains his WBA Featherweight title. The fight ended with like an insane KO from Wood, following a one-sided beatdown from Warrington. Like, honestly, Warrington really did control the pace, controlled the pressure. It looked like it was just going one way. But we always know that Wood has something in his locker. Man just produces the goods all the time. Both men didn't take a step back, just slugged it out. The arena looked crazy, the atmosphere looked insane. The entire card was super competitive. It really caught fire like all the fights. So good work from Matchroom DAZN. We need more undercards and main events like this. The standout fights to me were Bostan versus McCulloch and McCulloch Price versus Coghill. What a fight. That fight was super competitive. Ended up ending in the 12th round via a stoppage. Super good fight. Recommend you definitely watching that one if you didn't catch it. As you can see though, I've got the green muff here in honor of Wood's win. The man was wearing white and green shorts on the night. I thought it was just a nice touch. It came down to what I said though. Who had the most left? The battle of the chins. Wood looked noticeably hurt a good few times, buzzed, and it honestly looked like Warrington was going to get the stoppage at some point. Man was relentless and he was boxing super well. But Wood, as we have seen, has that equalizer. That right hand. The bomber of a right hand. Wood's obviously the slightly older man. I think he's around about age 35. But overall, I do think he has less miles on the clock. He's the slightly fresher fighter. Obviously, we've got Josh Warrington. The man has had some absolute wars. But unfortunately, I think with that Lara fight, it's just taken a lot out of him. He hasn't exactly had the best run of fights. Probably since Frampton and Galahad, and that was back in what, 2018, 2019. In his last 6 fights, he's won 2, lost 3, drew once, and a lot of people, especially lots of fans, thought that Warrington deliberately put his head in against Lara to avoid, the inevitable of getting stopped. However, I don't think this is likely, to be honest. He does have a bit of a tendency of doing it. I mean, we saw it in this fight, but I just ultimately think that it just all falls down to his style. Potentially, man comes in with that high guard, marches in with pretty much head first, and a lot of the time I don't think the fighters against him get out of range quick enough. So Warrington tries to get on the chest, but as he comes in, sometimes, his head hits their chins, sometimes his head hits other heads. I just think it just comes down to his style. Overall though, the momentum was just definitely on Wood's side. He has just had the more special outings. He's fought Kanzu, he beat him for the WBA vacant featherweight title. Then he went on to Michael Conlan, produced an absolute spectacle of a fight. Obviously then he lost against Lara, but he came back in that rematch and he put that wrong right. And then what does he go and do? He knocks out Josh Warrington. The fight just took fire instantly. Both men going at it. Wood did really well in rounds 1 and 2, keeping it long, switching stances. What I found interesting was Wood actually maintained that southpaw style for the majority of his fight. I guess this was just to nullify Warrington's style, to be honest, keeping that range a little bit further for Warrington to come in. Wood being in the southpaw stance meant that Warrington, when he was in medium to close range, Wood could counter him with left hooks, then left rights. It was good stuff from Wood. He definitely kept to the game plan that I assume obviously Davison put in place. He also landed a great jab uppercut in the 3rd round when he was backed up against the ropes. This is definitely something I thought that he should have used a lot more of. When you've got a fighter like Warrington with the high guard, chin down style, the uppercut is almost something you kind of look for. Because when you've got somebody up like this and you're jabbing out and you're throwing, your left rights, or for instance, Wood was in southpaw stance, the right left, it's quite hard to penetrate that guard. So obviously coming in with that uppercut, it definitely would have benefited him a lot more during the course of the fight if he used that particular punch. For the rest of the contest, Warrington just seemed to boss the fight. He really found his rhythm, and we just saw something a bit different from Warrington. He was on the back foot for the majority of the fight, and when Wood came in and threw some shots and combinations and fell in, Warrington countered him. As Wood was taking the fight to Warrington, a lot of the time Wood's chin was just in the air, and that's obviously something that Warrington was capitalizing on as he was falling in. He was a bit sloppy with some of the combinations he threw, something I actually touched on in my previous video. Yeah, he just seems to kind of switch off a little bit and throw nothing punches. Yeah, that just really helped Warrington with countering him. Warrington was also just doing some beautiful body work, just slamming in those uppercuts, those hooks, against the ropes. Wood just started looking like he was feeling sorry for himself in there. From then on, it kind of looked like the writing was on the wall and that Josh Warrington was getting to him. Warrington dominated most of the exchanges, pushed him up against the ropes, also just got him stuck in the mud a few times. I think those body shots really just paid dividends to how much he was slowing Wood down, and there was just a few times where Wood just ended up in the centre of the ring, kind of with his guard up against Warrington's and just taking a beating. Warrington also implemented his jab, something we don't see from him too often. He doubled it, he tripled it, and this is something I actually touched upon in my last video. This is something I thought he needed to do to kind of almost close that range, and he did need to do this because Leigh Wood was using that southpaw stance. He had to close that distance and then obviously get on the chest of Wood. Overall, it was impressive work from Warrington. He was just outboxing him. And as I said, it did look like it was going to be a Warrington win, but it just wasn't enough. And he just then fell asleep, pretty much. Warrington was just dominating that last and final round before he got KO'd. But I think that overconfidence just grew. And with that, he was just marching forward. I think he just thought, do you know what? Wood's here for the taking here. Because I'm going to be honest, Wood did look like he was he did look a bit flat. And he just looked like he was, as I said, there for the taking. I just think Warrington fell asleep and then ended up just getting caught. He grew too complacent and paid for it. Wood just kind of took a little step back, then hit him with a lovely left cross, then came back with a right hook, completely buzzes Josh Warrington. Wood then just bombarded him with a barrage of hooks, and then Warrington just fell straight on his back. It looked like Warrington wasn't going to get up, but Warrington did beat the count. He did get up, but as he got up, stumbled, walked to his corner away from the referee. He then turns round, I think on the count of 8. His eyes still kind of look glazy. He's stumbling around a little bit, and the ref just waves it off. And I think it was fair. I do think it was fair. He could have maybe come back after a minute's rest on the stool. The bell did go when he was being counted out, so he could have potentially come back. He might have been able to recover, but who knows. And look, right, we don't want any boxer to get extremely hurt. If Warrington is to come back and continue fighting, we want him to be healthy, sound-minded. You just got to look at it that the referee saved him for another day if Warrington does continue to fight on. And also, a bit of controversy just helps sometimes. They're looking to do a rematch at Leigh Wood's home football ground. That can be a big talking point in the conversation and build up to the next fight. But yeah, it was a super good fight. Both men put it on the line. They're probably two of the most exciting fighters from Britain at the moment. Warrington did control most of the contest, but Wood always just produces the goods, and he just has that one hitter quitter, that right hand, and pulls it back, baby, each and every time. He's reminiscent of an old styly fighter. He's super gritty, and he just finds a way. He finds a way of coming back. But anyway, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to drop a subscribe, leave a like and a comment. Thank you. Bash!